We have a couple agenda items that we wanna discuss today. First one on the list is, the registration of the Ford F-450. The reason behind that is the town is the lien holder of that vehicle, and at this time it's registered through rural fire. And the Commissioner of Public Lands, which holds the loan on that, requested us to get that changed so that our town has the registration because we have the loan. So I guess
That's the ambulance.
yes. So I guess if there's any questions or whatever, it's pretty clear what they want.
You said it's registered to rural fire right now?
Yeah, so it would need to be changed back to the town of Black Creek because we are the lien holder of that vehicle. And that's all just legal, for legal reasons.
Would we have to do anything with the municipality, or it just would stay? Okay.
The loan, we'll address that when we get that far. I guess we're worried more about the current issues. So I guess I would need an approval to do that from one of the board members.
I'll make a motion that we change the title to the town of Black Creek.
And we have a second.
Second?
It's a motion on the floor to change the registration of the Ford F-450 from rural fire to the town of Black Creek. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So now we're gonna go on to the bigger item. I guess if you wanna address them and tell us why we're doing what we're doing, or should I do that, or how do you want to handle it?
So from the ambulance perspective, so right now, we had through rural fire submitted, the 2026 contracts, which have the increase in funding needed, to do the, paid on call, for Black Creek Rescue. Over the last several months since, October when the contracts were presented, they've gone back and forth between rural fire and the municipalities. And currently, the 2026 contract was signed by 3 of the municipalities and has not been signed by the village of Black Creek. The village of Black Creek is now looking to not approve, or from what I understand, not approve the 2026 contract and go off of the 2025 contract, which does have basically an auto-renew clause. So the 2025 contract would, as of January 1, renew as their 2026 contract. That contract did have a clause that needed 120 days notice by rural fire to the municipalities to cancel. So if the village were allowed to assert the 2025 auto-renew, the contract would auto-renew and take over for 2026, which would then also not require the village to pay the increase in monies that rural fire and the ambulance had requested, which would of course then put us more under budget, with the ambulance already cutting $48,000 out of their budget for this next year. As at the ambulance, we are requesting that rural fire provide a notice of termination according to paragraph 3 of that contract, which says that if the rural fire and the municipalities cannot come up with an agreement on the contract and the price, that either party can terminate the contract with notice to the municipality. effective 90 days after receipt of said notice. The goal of us requesting that termination is not to not provide ambulance to the village. It is to force back upon the village the obligation to work through this contract in a civil way, which would, they would then have 90 days, would be around March 15th. So the village, who I have the understanding is not wanting to meet any more this year, would give them until March 15th in order to come up with an agreement with Rural Fire on the terms of the contract as far as the monies, the additional monies needed, as well as for their request for the audit. So the ambulance is requested through Rural Fire to provide termination to the village to allow them basically that 90 days to work through the rest of the contract. And then we had also requested that Rural Fire do take action on the 2026 contract as far as proposing it back to the village with an additional amendment which would allow the village to have the said audit, that seems to be the holding point, conducted during 2026 as well.
Go ahead, Doug.
The auto renew is for an annual auto renew, it's,
So the contracts technically have, so in paragraph 2 of the contracts, they've always had basically an auto renew. It states that the current contract basically moves from year to year.
so it would auto renew for a whole year, not for a month or?
Correct. It would auto renew for the entirety of 2025, and it would auto renew at the rates of that then current contract, which would be their 2025 rates, which would not include the increases needed to fund the on-call for our personnel.
Other questions that you can answer? Any board members?
Well, you know, I guess, the requested amendment came from the village board as a whole. The village board in itself, I do not believe has any issue with paying the increase, which I believe came out to about $13,000. As far as the village board not meeting before the end of the year, the only thing I can say is I reached out to my village board members, and so far 3 of them have stated they are not able to. I could request the village board meeting, but I don't know if I'll have a quorum. I just want everybody here to understand that. And then at that point I guess, I think, what Nathan is proposing would give them an extension to the village working out these issues. And, presently the village has $19,000 or so in the budget for the ambulance. There presently is not the additional roughly $13,000 that was requested. It was the intent of the board to have this amended contract approved by Rural Fire. And then at that point, we would have a special meeting to amend the budget for the additional funds. That kind of covers it. So that's just my explanation from, as a representative of the Black Creek Village Board.
Well, as Rural Fire, I was expecting to approve a signed contract, and we met and not get a bunch of requests to amend the current contract. If they wanted to do that, we need to be part of that process and not, bullied into it, the way I looked at it. So, I believe that, you know, they're not going to play nice now, so I think we need to terminate the contract, force the issue. We got 3 months to figure it out. I know they have a lot of excuses. The amended didn't even go through your lawyer, it just come from one of your board members. I didn't feel that was a decent thing to do. The financial affordability of an audit, what they are proposing, you're proposing an audit that may cost $10,000 with a $48,000 budget. Neither municipality has budgeted a meeting or money for an audit, and rural fire committee has no budget. We just have the budgets of rural fire, to run the fire department and to run the ambulance. So when you start asking for more things to happen, everybody needs to budget that into their budgets, cause it don't happen out of thin air, so. This whole process has been holding 3 other municipalities, to, basically run service or rescue service with the financials. And I do not believe that that's fair to the other 3 municipalities when one seems to think they need to be special, so. But, go from here, we need to take an action, and I think it needs to be termination to force the issue to get them to the 26th ambulance agreement. I guess, any other comments, questions?
Well, I think the main point I'm hearing is, you know, and I'm assuming good intent on all parties at this point, but if we have a risk of a contract being auto-renewed for a whole year that doesn't have the right financial, status behind it, I think that's a huge risk. It's a huge risk to the whole program here, so.
Any other comments?
Rocky, Andy, I'm gonna make a recommendation that you call a meeting. And don't let those 3 bullies pull their shit. But let's see who steps up to the plate. We're all sick of this. So call it, and let's see, it's gonna go on public record. And you're gonna see who the bullies are.
We don't know who they are, but
But we want it on public record. This is ridiculous.
And it's a mandatory meeting.
I believe all village board meetings are mandatory.
Well,
What happens if someone goes rogue like that? Because they're rogue, you know, the villagers themselves, from anything I can tell, want to see this happen. So this is, you know, a couple people that are holding the whole thing hostage right now. You know, people that were voted off last year. And, you know, we've sat through meeting after meeting after meeting and put up with this. Something else needs to happen.
well, once we would like to get a little better reorganized. We're gonna get some help outside, so that rural fire comprises of the village and the town now. Rural fire is the ruling or as the governing body of the ambulance and the fire department, to have the village try to take over rural fire is basically what they're doing. We're gonna try to strengthen our organization so that cannot happen. We're not lawyers, we're all basically volunteers and elected officials. So we probably need a little legal guidance, some experts on how to organize properly so that this cannot happen. And that would be the goal for this, but for this point right now is to get past this button heads thing and get it so that everybody's comfortable with you living in the village, that you're gonna have a service. You know, and the rest of us, that we don't have to support it solely as three municipalities. That's the goal here, so. We don't wanna, nobody wants to terminate anybody else's service. It just, we need to get to that point. The rural fire needs to have a stronger, I don't know, organization, don't know, this was organized 40, 50 years ago. I don't know all the answers yet either, so, and it's worked for 50 years. It just happened not to work this year, so. Anything else? I don't know if I answered, go ahead, Steve.
On behalf of the town of Cicero, I'm not sure where you guys are or where this is going to go with this audit funding. But at any point, if the village is gonna request rural fire to pay for that audit, wanna go on record as we are not willing to pay for part of that audit in our contract. So if the village
That's very understandable.
puts it back on the rescue service feels they need to divide it up in everybody's contract, the town is opposed to that. So,
No, right. I think it needs to be built in somehow. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, the village has an auditing firm, could they just take care of it, you know? It would be a small portion of a village audit, I mean, very small portion. So, that's maybe what we would consider, I don't know. So, like I said, I don't have all the answers today, I just know I need to move on from this point to force something to happen. So, any other comments, questions?
I agree with Bruce's comment about forcing the meeting. There's, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's 7 members, correct? So if 4 of them are willing to meet, I agree with Bruce's comment. Force that meeting and show them. I mean, I know you 2 are only 2 of the 7, but they need to be shown that they're not running. You're the president, Andy.
Well, I understand. I guess it depends on the recommendation that comes out of the rural fire here today. What could possibly be discussed on the agenda? And I'd have to look into that and make sure I'm calling the meeting where we're actually gonna resolve something. So I can't call a meeting just to say, hey, a lot of people are mad at us, let's do something, you know? Okay, so if I call a meeting, I have to have an actionable item
Agenda,
on the
an
agenda.
actionable
So that's, so just so you understand my position.
Oh, sure.
And I think everybody knows personally how I feel about this, okay?
We know that
You
you
know,
wouldn't
I left
stand.
the last rural fire meeting in tears.
We understand.
And
Okay.
Andy, I just handed you the agenda.
Yeah, thank you.
The 2026 contract was on the village agenda, and it was a motion for 2025, so that agenda item could be revisited.
Okay, so I could throw 2025 on.
Yep, and there is a clause for unexcused absences from meetings. I would encourage you to talk to Attorney Sweeney how to handle that. He might have some options for you.
Alright.
So at this time, I guess I would entertain a motion to terminate the 2025 ambulance agreement with the Village of Black Creek, which would be between Black Creek Rural Fire and the village. And we will do a roll call vote because I'm not gonna.
Rocky, I would recommend that you add in that motion that it is, according to paragraph 3 of the 2025 ambulance contract.
Getting to that point.
Okay, thank you.
But the written notice is pursuant to paragraph 3 of the 2025 agreement for ambulance service between Black Creek Rural Fire, first party, and the Village of Black Creek, second party, as it is outlined in that provision. We have been unable to reach an agreement with the revised charges and capital needs, so either party can terminate the agreement by written notice, which is what I'm entertaining to have as a motion today. And I had a motion. Who gave me the first motion?
I did.
Tom. I need a second.
You made a motion, the motion's on the table?
Yep.
And I'll second it.
Okay. And therefore I want to do a roll call vote because I want it very clear, to be very clear. I don't want no, well, they didn't think so, but. So, Don,
Aye.
Tom,
Yes.
Tim, Andy,
Abstain.
and so we have 3 yes and 1 abstain. That will be the official motion, so the motion carries. So I guess there's no further business at this time. I guess a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll move to adjourn.
Have a second.
I'll second it.
Motion made, second to adjourn. We're adjourned. Thank you very much for everybody being concerned. I know this is a rough patch. We're gonna try to get through it. We're gonna try not to interrupt your service. And I think most of us understand that this is an uphill battle at the moment, but we're gonna work through it. So thank you very much.
So for if you guys are from the village, understand, like, nothing is stopping January 1st. We are not like, the village now has until,
Go crazy.
in essence, like March 15th, to work through this with rural fire. So, I mean, nothing will change for your service on January 1st, so you do not have to worry about that. This is not us trying to not cover. We want to be, for municipalities.
We do want to cover. You guys have a school, our friends live there, our family lives there.
If you call 911, we will still be there.
Yes.
I guess hopefully that assures you that our impact is good.
Thank you. And we get that. We get
For
that
lack
you
of a
have to
better
do
way to phrase it.
today.
Just
It just ticks me off.
I care. That's my word.
You shouldn't say this.
I would be